Hello, I hope everybody can hear me. My name is Darren Taylor. I'm your digital marketing trainer today, and I'm working with PreparationInfo to deliver this talk on advanced techniques and analysis for search engine marketing. So I know you're all professionals in your field and you want to develop your skills in search engine marketing and kind of grow your knowledge and grow how you can manage your campaigns and change your understanding to make sure you get the better results for your businesses and your campaigns in the future. So a few house rules before we get started. There'll be time for Q&A at the end of the presentation. So if you have any questions, just wait until the end. I think the last 20 minutes or so of the presentation should give you enough time to ask any questions that come around. So if you do think of a question while the talk's going on, then please let me know at the end, and then we can go through the questions at the very end of the talk. About myself, I am a digital marketing trainer, speaker, and practitioner. So I've been working in digital marketing for years in various senior roles across UK businesses, and I have a strong focus on search engine marketing. And a lot of the things I also do is around training and development and giving talks and presentations at universities in the UK. So I think this training should be good for you guys to kind of get a good understanding of search engine marketing, and not just the basics and the obvious kind of parts of search engine marketing, but more of the advanced techniques as well. So I want to share with you guys some of the things that have helped me get better results from my campaigns that I run here in the UK and across the world as well. And this training should reflect that and should hopefully increase your knowledge within that as well. And also, just before I continue, make sure everybody's microphone is on mute. And when you get to the end for questions and answers at the end, then you can feel free to unmute and ask any questions. And of course, you can see the chat box facility is there as well. So at the end of the presentation, if you have any questions, then feel free to either use the chat box or to speak up, and I'll be happy to take your questions then. So first, we begin with asking the question of why search engine marketing. There's so many marketing methods out there in the marketing world. You've got all the different mediums. You've got obviously search engine optimization. You've got email marketing, social media. So why search engine marketing? So the first obvious part is it puts your product or service right in front of a prospect at the very point they are looking. So very few marketing methods can do this, where prospects could want something right now, and then they can go onto Google or other search engines and actually find what they're looking for. And at that precise moment, positioning your business in that place is really going to help you. And it allows you to control who you can target. So a lot of advertising methods, for example, email, collecting data lists, you don't necessarily specifically know who you're targeting at a very high level with email. Or if you might do display advertising, or you might do even traditional media methods like television or newspapers, and you can't really control who sees that. You can imagine the types of demographic waiting at a train station who see a banner or a billboard advertisement, and you kind of think that could apply to anybody on this platform. So it doesn't really give you the great targeting you need. And again, that ties into the third point, which is the cost effectiveness. If you're spending money on advertising and ultimately you can't target specifically who you want your product is for, then you're wasting your money. So spending money on advertising, that kind of, the spray and pray approach, where you literally just get your message across to as many people as you can without thinking about their background or their demographics, it makes it very difficult. So PPC, search engine marketing, is very cost effective. You can target specific areas and specific keywords. And again, it ties back into measuring success. It's very easy to measure success with the right tracking, with the right analytics. Then you can quite easily see which keywords are performing, which keys aren't. And if you're doing e-commerce or you're transactional, then you can tie revenue and return on investment into your campaigns as well. So you can see specifically at keyword level what's working, what's not working. This keyword has brought me an X amount of value this month, and it's a great way of doing that too. So this is your traditional sales and marketing funnel. Now, I'm sure you guys have probably seen this. You've got the customer journey, you've got awareness, consideration, conversion, and then the post-conversion points of loyalty and advocacy. So the size of each section of the funnel also relates to how many people are in the funnel. So you'll see the green strip there for conversion is a lot smaller than the awareness point. So the idea is that at the top level of the funnel for the awareness, then that size or that proportion of people is the highest number of people you want to try and bring into your brand. Then the consideration, you want to get those people who just became aware of your brand down into conversion, and then of course loyalty and advocacy. So let's have a little Sorry, could you please mute your microphones in the background if possible? Thank you. So loyalty and advocacy are post-conversion points, but let's have a little look and see what specific areas of marketing fit within these. So awareness is all about just making sure people know who your brand is. So print, outdoor, TV, banner advertising, making sure people are aware. So again, this approach maximizes the number of people you're targeting, and it makes sure that your message is seen far and wide, but it doesn't necessarily mean that everybody who sees your awareness message is interested. So you can imagine, as I said, outdoor advertising, any number of demographics could see that, and it's a massive amount of people. They're not all going to be interested, but again, you're trying to drive awareness, so it's not such a big problem. Next, you have consideration. So people who have become aware and they actually think this might be for me. I might want this product. I might want this service. Then it becomes a point of understanding that consideration point to try and turn them into a conversion. So email marketing, list building, content marketing, having the right kind of conversations and understanding what the person's specifically looking for. That's really going to help you with your consideration points. And then finally, conversion at the bottom of the funnel, direct. You've got PPC, and I've also put search engine optimization in there as well, because it's also a conversion point type of marketing. So this talk is all about search engine marketing, and you can see it's all about conversion. There's no point in doing search engine marketing on Google if you're not trying to get conversions. If you're building awareness, building consideration, then PPC isn't going to be the channel for that. So this is a really important point. It's a transactional challenge. It's a transactional channel, so it's very much focused on driving revenue, and it's going to be towards the end of a customer journey. So below you can see this screenshot is actually taken from a Google Analytics account I work with. Now, this shows you the conversion journey a customer took to become a customer of this particular business. So you can see they started off going to 2 direct visits, which means that tells me instantly that they found the brand. So they would have come through that awareness part with, you know, some offline advertising for them to go straight to the address bar as their first touch point. They were aware of the brand. Then they went through social media 6 times, then again 4 times directly through the search bar. Then they did an organic search, then they clicked a PPC ad, then they came twice direct again. They were probably still doing research and then clicked on another website that referred them back to our website. And then finally, right at the end, as we'd expect, paid search drove the conversion because it's a direct conversion channel. So this kind of shows you a customer journey. Now, a lot of journeys aren't this long. It depends on the product you're promoting. But ultimately, this is a typical journey in the business I was working in, and paid search facilitated that conversion. So what I want to do now is I want to walk you through a scenario. I want to kind of give you an example as to a customer journey, how PPC fits into that journey in a real life scenario. And this is kind of what happens with a customer, even for things that aren't necessarily a long-term purchase. So let's walk you through this scenario. So I'm in the market for life insurance. It's something I need. I just haven't got round to doing it, and I've not been actively looking for it. But in the back of my mind, I know I need it. I've just got married, child on the way kind of thing. It's that kind of scenario where you start to think, as a man, you need life insurance, a life insurance package. So it's in your mind, but you haven't got round to looking for it specifically. So at this point, PPC will not find me because I'm not looking for it. But it doesn't mean I don't want the product. So let's look at the journey and how PPC fits into that. So I'm on my Facebook timeline looking at what my friends are up to and my family, and I see an advert for life insurance and why, when I'm married, I need life insurance, which obviously Facebook knows if you're married or not. And Facebook knows this about me. So I see the advert and then I click it. So it goes through to an article. It doesn't try to sell me. It just tries to get me aware. So at this point, I'm in the awareness stage. I've seen the article. I know exactly that I need life insurance. And it's a case of reading the article. And then for the brand who's promoted the article, they've now made me aware of their brand. I still don't take action. I don't go and go through and transact with them and then book an online appointment to take out a life insurance quote or anything like that. But then later on, I leave that blog post and I go to one of my favorite blogs. It might be a tech blog. It might be search engine land or something like that with advertising space. And I see a banner showing the same company. So this is clearly remarketing. Again, it's not search engine marketing, but it's still Google Ads. as a product, and I've been followed around the web with a banner ad. So I'm still in the consideration point. They're following me with banner advertising, and this is another touch point towards conversion. So the ad then links to a detailed downloadable guide about life insurance. So it tells you specifically why you need it, what kind of premiums you'd be looking at, what the advantages are, and why you should be doing it. So I look at that guide and I download it. And now when I download that guide, I've parted with my data. They now have my email address and my contact details. So this has got me properly into their consideration funnel. So they know now I've shown a commitment of consideration. I'm definitely interested in this product. So from that point, I receive an email to book a free online insurance consultation, because they think in their eyes, he's clicked the advert, he's come through, he's downloaded a piece of content, maybe he's ready to have that conversation around buying life insurance, but I don't. I'm busy. I put it off because it's one of those things, life administration can be quite a long, quite a taxing thing to do. And you might want to put it off because you've got other priorities. So I put it off. And then finally, I decide to take a day off work to sort out my life admin. I want to pay my bills. I want to go to those appointments, I might go to the bank, whatever it might be. I sit at my computer and I do a search for life insurance. Now, this is the funny thing about how conversion journeys work. I've had multiple touch points with that company, but right at the end, I still go to Google. I still use Google as my final conversion point. It doesn't matter that I've downloaded a guide. It doesn't matter that I've gone through email. And of course, I might, in a different scenario, have gone via the email in their nurture campaign process and then become a customer. But this shows you how search engine marketing fits into this. So when I perform the search on Google, I recognize the brand that's been promoting the services to me, the one that I downloaded the guide of, and they can tailor their ads based on my previous interactions as well. So the likelihood of me clicking their advert over anyone else on the search results page is increased, not just because I have downloaded their content previously, but they can also tailor the content of the ad to show and remind me that I've been on their site previously as well. So I click the advert, I go through, and I book my online consultation about life insurance. So in terms of answering the questions around your life and then buying a package, and I actually go ahead and do it. And that is PPC being the final conversion point in a typical consideration purchase. So it really shows how important PPC is for the consideration life cycle, during the consideration process, to get that consideration over the line to a paid purchase. So this is another thing to consider. Again, looking at this journey, it shows you how powerful PPC can be. I've explained already that PPC gets you in front of the customer when they're looking, but there are some shortfalls as well, which you have to be aware of. So you only reach people when they are ready to buy, which is an advantage and a disadvantage. It's good because when you spend your budget on people who are ready to buy, they're more likely to convert, which is great, but it means that you haven't woken up the rest of the market. So in an example, if I was taking a brand new product to market, a new concept, maybe a new app, maybe a new social media network, if I was taking something that's a new concept to market, I wouldn't use search engine marketing, simply because you can't promote something on search when people don't know the product exists. They're not going to look for it. They're not going to look for a solution because they don't understand that a solution's out there. So PPC can't stimulate demand for a product or service. The demand is there on PPC, then you can take advantage of that demand, but you can't stimulate the demand with a new concept with PPC. So it's not the best channel for brand awareness. And then the reach of search is low compared to wide advertising. So you can imagine how many people are looking for specific transactional things on Google for PPC, and then compare that with how many people are simply just asking questions around what the subject is you're targeting. So asking the questions around, say, for example, life insurance. Maybe someone's asking, should I get life insurance? Maybe someone's asking, how much does life insurance cost? Maybe someone's asking, is life insurance a waste of money? All of these questions aren't PPC keywords. They are questions people ask before they're ready to buy. And then in addition to that, when you think about the example I gave before, I wasn't even looking for those types of searches, let alone transactional ones. I was literally just thinking in the back of my mind, I needed life insurance. So I wouldn't have even been on Google. So that tells you how many people are outside of search engine marketing. So it's important to know that it's very much a conversion-based marketing channel and not an awareness and waking up the market type of channel. So again, it can't drive brand awareness. It has a higher conversion rate than other channels. It's a bottom of the funnel marketing channel, and it can't generate demand. So it's very important to know where it fits within the overall marketing life cycle. But again, it's one of my favorite methods of advertising. It's the one I started off in marketing with because it's such a powerful way to drive conversions. So this is the thing with Google Ads. Again, as a summary, it's a good tool for driving visibility, driving conversions. If you plan ahead, you can perform well in your PPC campaigns as long as you know what you're trying to target and understand your demographic and your niche. And of course, the great advantage with Google Ads, you can test, optimize, and repeat. You can make as many tests as you need to. You can do A/B testing, you can do ABC testing. You don't need to do series testing because you can get enough data to do testing in real time. And then make sure you perform a conversion rate optimization audit. I always put this in there because it's important to know that your website is where you're sending your traffic. If you're sending your traffic to a website that doesn't look good, it's not easy to find what the customer is looking for, it doesn't convert very well, then ultimately you're wasting your money on paid search. You need to make sure your website is ready to be promoted. If you've got a website that's not finished or it's very old, and have a look at your competitors' websites and compare it to yours. If you're happy that yours is better than your competitors or on a good level, then you will be okay. If you look at your competitors and think, oh, these guys have got a much better website than me, then there could be a problem long term. So always make sure your website is ready to perform. So now I've given you guys a good understanding of where PPC fits within the market in terms of the overall marketing landscape. It's time to look at some specific advanced PPC techniques, because I know that's why you guys are here, and it's important, I think, to look at those kind of techniques. So the first one I want to highlight is using business data for location-based advertising. So one of the features in Google Ads is it allows you to upload business data. Now, business data can take many shapes and forms, but the one I want to focus on is using this business data upload template, which I will go on to show you, in order to make your adverts more dynamic. So what you can do is Google has a list of all the different valid types of location across the entire world. So in the United Kingdom, it could be postcodes, which is the example I'll show you in this presentation as well. But then it could be cities, it could be towns, it could be zip codes in the United States. It has a list of approved codes you can use, and you can target people looking in those specific areas by inserting that data into your ads dynamically. So if I'm searching in the United Kingdom in a specific postcode, I could put that postcode into my ad if I'm searching from that location. If I'm searching from a particular city or town in India, then I could potentially insert that into my ad as well to make sure it's more relevant. So when you look at the search results page, you can see that it's more accurate. So the example I'm going to show you is from a UK energy consultancy, which is essentially a business that looks after a customer's energy needs in terms of businesses online. So if you're a business in the UK and you want to change your electricity or gas supplier, then you can use a consultancy to do that. So this is the example I want to show you. So in the example you can see on screen now, you can see save on electricity in SW2, which is a postcode in the UK. This is a postcode in South London in the United Kingdom. Now, this postcode isn't added to the ad copy manually, it's inserted dynamically. And doing this makes the click-through rate improve, and it gives you a good opportunity to get a better share of the clicks on the search results page. And it had a very positive effect on the performance of the ad. So the first thing you need to do is understand how to use ad customizers, and the way to do that is to use this Google spreadsheet. So I'm going to download this now and go into this support article. So here it is. So it's an ad customizer. So this is the Google help for ad customizers, and it gives you a good understanding of how to download the template. And it shows you the character limits, and it shows you specifically how to add the customizer data. So you can see there are different types of attributes you can use as well in terms of the languages you can target as well. So ultimately what you need to do with ad customizers is pull in that data and make sure that you can add it to your spreadsheet. So first I'm going to go back to the presentation, and I'm going to move on now to show you how to populate that data in the data set. So what you need to do is you need to download the template. And another thing to mention as well is you don't need to have a physical products, because the template is set up so that, sorry, could somebody please mute their microphone? Thank you. So the idea is this template is essentially a way of using physical products, but what you can do is you can make your services behave like a product. So I'll go on to show you how to do that with the spreadsheet shortly. So the idea is you want to treat every location you want to target as a product, and that's how it's listed in the spreadsheet. So let's look at a real template. I'm going to go over to Microsoft Excel, and I'm going to show you an example of a data feed. So this is one I've downloaded from a campaign in the United Kingdom. So let me just expand these columns. So here is the spreadsheet, and this is exactly what you'd see if you downloaded the template. I've just made it populated with data. So model is essentially your product. It's the product that you want to target, this model. So for me, I was promoting business electricity in a specific location. So every single United Kingdom postcode I've added top level, and I've added the word electricity in to that area. So therefore, all of these Google will see as a product. So electricity in SL2, in BH23, in NE34, all of these postal codes in the United Kingdom are now added as products. And then what I did, I cross-referenced that with the targeting locations. So what you need to do is populate the specific Google target locations here as well. And now what will happen is Google will pick up on this spreadsheet when I upload it to Google Ads in the data, and it will cross-reference the person searching from this location and say, okay, this person is searching from SL2 postcode in England. And then when you perform that search, it pulls in this data into the ad. So what you've done is this data is your actual location of where your person's searching from, and then this is the advert copy that's going to be inserted. So it's a way of working around this data feed. So normally what would happen is you'd use this for actual products. So if I had a product portfolio and I wanted to target specific types of product, I can do it by target campaign or target ad group or target keyword even. So if I wanted to dynamically serve a target product within the ad based on a keyword dynamically, I'd use this as well. But the way I've done it here is a bit of a hack. So you can actually target a service to a location specifically instead of a product. Because a lot of the time with PPC adverts, it's all about services as opposed to selling products. If you've got shopping ads, that's a bit different. But generally speaking, you want to target a service or you want to drive traffic to your website. You don't necessarily want to use Google product feeds. So this is a way of working around this predetermined spreadsheet. So this will give you a good understanding of how this works. And I'll go back to the presentation now. So once you've defined this list and you've put in all of your locations and all of your targeting into the Google Ads business data spreadsheet that I've just shown you, you would need to upload it to Google Ads. And when you've uploaded it to Google Ads, Google will read that and create a data feed based on that. So when you set this up, you need to make the file name as short as possible. And I'll show you the reason for that shortly. And it's really important that you do this because I'll go on to show you. So when you create a new ad, in order to activate the customizer, you need to reference it within your advert. So here's an example of where I've referenced it. You'll see here, this is the advert setup screen in Google Ads. I'm sure you guys are all aware of when you go in to change ad copy on your PPC ads in Google Ads. So my headline is business electricity deals. And then on headline 2, I've got save on, and then it says equals pcd.model. Now, let me explain what this means. This is an ad customizer. So I've named my business data file when I uploaded it to Google Ads PCD. So I've done the curly brackets equals, and I've put my file name in PCD, and then dot, and then the column I want to reference within my ad, which was the model column. If you remember, let's go back. Model is the first column, and that's the areas I want to insert into my advert. So you can see there, model. And that's what I want to insert into my advert. So I want to insert that data, and by putting the curly brackets equals my file name, keep it as short as possible for this very reason, because if you had a long name, it wouldn't fit properly within your overall targeting and in your character count. If it's too long, it becomes quite difficult to manage. So I've referenced the file name, I've referenced the column I want to index, and that will insert the postcode into my ad based on where the user is searching. So here's an example again. It makes sure it populates. So this is actually a screenshot from the ad input screen. So when you're creating your ad, it shows a preview. So if it works correctly, it should populate with a random row and show you exactly how it would look if a person was searching from that location. So you'll see it says business electricity deals, save on, and then the part highlighted in red and underlined in red is the dynamic property. So when you look at the actual ad itself, you can see specifically there, it says save on electricity in SW2, which is the postcode, and I've inserted that data dynamically. So wherever the customer searches in the UK, their nearest postcode, the location, will be added into the ad automatically. So this results in a massive improvement in the campaign. So when you look at the campaign itself, you can see the click-through rate has increased by 5% in the campaign. And look how high the click-through rate is. For a search ad, this is a very high click-through rate. When you look at how a good click-through rate performs, then you think to yourself, you know, if I've got a click-through rate of 5%, if I've got a click-through rate of 8%, it's very, very high. This particular ad generated a click-through rate of 10.37%, which is huge, absolutely huge. So this makes a massive difference. And I think overall, when you do things like this in the campaign and you get a bigger share of the clicks, then it makes a massive difference to the performance of your campaigns. And you can really start to drive more traffic, especially in highly competitive industries. Like, for example, this industry had an average CPC of 35 British pounds. Expensive, very, very expensive. So you can see how important driving traffic is, because the value of sale was very high. So it was really, really important to drive the right type of traffic. And getting a high click-through rate when it's this competitive means that you get a higher share of that highly valuable traffic. So next, I want to move on to another advanced PPC technique. And again, as I said at the beginning, there'll be times for questions at the end, and I'm sure there'll be tons of questions around some of these advanced techniques. So when you look at Google Ads in-market audiences, an in-market audience is essentially one of the many audiences that Google has at its disposal within Google Ads to determine what a user is in the market for. So Google creates a dynamic audience based on user behavior, specifically around what they think somebody wants to buy right now. So the audience lasts 30 days. So in a 30-day period, Google could include any number of users across the web into their audience database based on a number of data points across different, I guess, categories and niches. So you can see some of these over here. So you've got apparel, autos, you know, you've got gifts and occasions, travel. So if you're in the market as a user looking to buy something from one of these services, then, and they do break down into subcategories as well, then you can specifically target these users or use this data within your PPC campaigns as well. So this isn't just for display advertising. You can use these audiences for display, but you can actually use them in search. And I'll go on to show you how you can do that right now. So what some people do in PPC when they set campaigns up, they set up all their targeting, they set up all their ad extensions, they set up their bids, then their bidding strategy. But one of the things that a lot of people usually skip past is adding audiences to campaigns. Now, usually, I will always add a general remarketing all users audience to my search ads in general, just so I can use retargeting in the future, which is fine. But an additional way of adding audiences to your ads is to use in-market audiences. So add all of the in-market audiences you can think of, because it's dynamic data that changes based on how active somebody's looking for a specific product. And you can benchmark your campaign performance against all of these audiences. And you can see which type of audience performs well and which type of audience doesn't perform well. So overall, you can see specifically audience-wise what's going to work, what's not going to work, and then go from there. So again, you would have noticed there are a number of audiences based on different industries. So you'll see across all of the different industries I showed you, there were audiences for all of them. So the thing a lot of people think is that you just need to add the audiences for your industry. So if you're in automotive and you're selling cars, then you add all of the automotive categories to your campaign as audiences. You don't need to do that. What you need to do is add all audiences as you like to your search campaigns, and there's a reason for that. So first of all, the type of audience you're going to add isn't going to have an impact on the campaign. You're not going to suddenly start targeting people in specific niches that are outside of your niche, because the audiences aren't going to impact your performance that way. All the audience is going to do is cross-reference the performance of your campaign and then look at that across to the different types of campaign you're running. So if I've got an audience on my campaign, all it will do is cross-reference that with the performance of your campaign. So if I'm running a campaign and I'm getting, 50 clicks a day, I could see the likelihood of conversion based on those audience members. So in order to do this, you just need to go into your usual search campaign tab and head over to audiences. And then go into add in-market audiences and add in-market audiences to your campaign. So again, you will notice at the top on the right-hand side picture, it says observation and recommended. So it's purely for observational purposes. You're not increasing bids or changing ad copies or anything like that against these audiences. You're literally just using them to benchmark performance based on which audience all of your users are potentially built into. So when Google looks at your users and sees what they're in the market for, and everybody's in the market for something, then it benchmarks that specifically against the performance of your campaign. So what happens off the back of that? You can see how well you're performing in your campaign, and you can see the audiences and how well they're performing in your campaigns, and you can change the bids in the future, but not yet. So give yourself a couple of weeks to save your audience's data in your campaign and gather some data against your audiences. So you might add 10 audiences, 20 audiences to your campaign. Start gathering data and see how those audiences perform against your campaign, and see specifically, is one audience, maybe people who are looking for travel, maybe they perform better in your automotive campaign. Maybe your campaign niche is targeting, retail. Maybe that's what you're targeting, but then you notice that people in the baby care area are performing well in your campaign. So it doesn't matter what the industry is for the audience, as long as the actual audience itself is performing. So 2 weeks have passed, you can see your audience data. So if an audience is performing badly, you can reduce bids, or if they're performing really badly, you can actually exclude them from your campaign. So when you start to gather all of that data and you see all those audiences, you can actually start to adjust things now. And if you see, for example, an audience is performing really well, they're more likely to convert on your campaign, then you can actually say, if it's within your threshold of your max affordable cost per acquisition and you want to drive more volume, you could potentially increase bids for that audience, because you know that this audience performs better for me, therefore I want to acquire them at a higher rate, because I know they're going to convert at a higher rate looking at my campaign data. So you can look at both of those sides of things and actually say, okay, this is going to perform better for me. So this is how it would look in Google Ads. So you can see here all of these audiences I've added to this particular campaign and the bid adjustments I've made. So you can actually make bid adjustments based on this data to increase bids or decrease bids by a particular percentage. And this is all search campaigns, and it's just observation in the first instance. But then after that, when you've got your data, you can start making bid adjustments and start thinking, what's going to work for me, what's not going to work for me, which audiences should I negatively bid on, which audiences should I positively bid on. And then by doing this, you can actually improve the performance of your campaign overall. So in this particular example, there was an increase in conversion rate of 8% after making the increases and decreases to bids. We also decreased the cost per conversion by £4.90, which is a massive difference when you look at a high volume campaign over time. If you imagine that over the period of a year, driving thousands of conversions a month, then it adds up massively to increase efficiencies in your marketing. So it's really, really important that you can start to add audiences to your campaigns, understand what's working, what's not working so well, and then you can start to really increase the performance of your campaigns by doing this. So one of the other things about PPC is competitor analysis, and it's something that is important. It's something a lot of people sometimes overlook. Some people, all they do for competitor analysis is just see who else is on the search results page by Googling their own keywords and just seeing who's there. But ultimately, it's an important part of PPC, and there's ways to do it more strategically. And there's some reports in Google Ads you can actually use to improve your competitor analysis. And in addition to that, there are also ways you can download that competitor data from your account and then use that as well. So Competitor analysis in general, it will help you plan for the future. It will allow you to know who's in the market, who's not in the market, who your main competitors are, who's not. It allows you to, based on that data, outperform competitors, and it shows you who the most aggressive players are in your field, and it also allows you to spot new competitors. So what might happen is you go to the search results page, you see that your usual competitor seems to be lower down the page than they normally are, or you might see they've increased their budgets. But you don't necessarily need to just look at your search results page to do that. There are some reports in Google Ads you can actually use in order to do this. So there's a report in Google Ads called the Auction Insights Report, and it's a really important report that I use quite often, because what it allows me to do is show you the crossover of who else is bidding on your target keywords and what they're actually doing. So here's a screenshot of an Auction Insights report. So you'll see here you've got your column, which is your competitors. So at the very top, you've got yourself, and then every other competitor who's bidding on your target keywords, your target campaign, or your target ad group. So this report works at all levels, from just a single keyword level to ad group level and to campaign level. So you can actually see, and even account level actually, you can actually see who is crossing over with you at every single stage. So if you look at the first column, impression share, for this particular keyword, it says you at the top. So in terms of the campaign I was managing, my impression share was 77%. My next nearest rival in this particular campaign had an impression share of 54%. So as you can see, when I filtered this by impression share, it shows that actually I'm the most aggressive in the market. I'm the one bidding the highest. I'm the one showing more. So in this instance, I'm outperforming my competitors from a volume and aggression perspective. Now, if I were to look at this report over time, maybe it will change. Maybe I decide, budget-wise, we're coming to the end of the financial year, and we want to reduce our budget to fit in with the financial year projections. Maybe I become less competitive, and then I can see who takes over from me. Or maybe I carry on with my same strategy, and then I notice, for example, NPower might jump up the list suddenly from their 43%. They might increase to 70% themselves because they've got an injection of budget. Maybe they've got more priorities. Maybe they've spotted a gap in the market. Maybe market conditions have changed. But ultimately, staying on top of this report will allow you to see who the major players are as well. So if you go across at some of these other columns, you'll also see average position. You'll also see the overlap rate, so how often you share the same search results page, the percentage you're above, the percentage you're at the top of the page, and you can see percentage of absolute top of page as well. And then, of course, the outranking share. So it shows you how much, by what percentage you're outranking your competition or not. So in this particular instance, again, we had a lot of budget. I think our PPC budget for this particular campaign was £150,000 per month. So we had a lot of budget. We were outranking competitors. And this is essentially showing that we were the bigger players in the market for this particular type of campaign. But then we wanted to stay on top of that to see if that changed. So we can download this report and we can actually track it and then put it into a pivot table. So if you're not familiar with pivot table reporting, I'll go on to show you specific reports I've created earlier and break it down for you to kind of show you what you should be doing and how it will work as well. And you can track changes over time as well. And it can be quite a manual process, but there are ways you can automate this in different methods. But I think in the first instance, I want to just show you how the report actually works and what you can actually do with this reporting. So now I'm going to go across to Excel and I'm going to pull up another report, which is open now. So it looks confusing at the moment, but let me just break it down and show you what I've done with this data. So let's first go to the raw data I've downloaded from Google Ads. So what I've done, these columns are downloadable from Google Ads. They're all the data I showed you for a period of 7 days. So you can see on a weekly basis, this is the data you can download. But what I've also done, I've added an additional column here called week. And all I've done is I've populated that column when I downloaded the data for a particular week with the first day of that week. So this is the data I downloaded up to here. And then again, I downloaded another segment of data for the next 7 days and downloaded that here. And then I added that population with the first day of that week. And then I've done it a third time, downloaded the data for the next 7 days. And I've repopulated that again with manually adding the date of that week. And then finally, I've done it yet again. All this is downloaded from Google Ads, one report at a time for a 7-day period, starting on the day given here. And I've populated that with the first day of the week as well. So what you've got here is a report of raw data downloaded from Google Ads, showing specifically what, I guess, your competitors are doing and the relative impression share and the data you saw in the previous report in Google Ads. And all I've done is added a column for week and broken that data down. Now, the reason I've done that is so I can put this data into a pivot table and look at the movement of impression share over time, week by week. So when you select all this data, what you normally do is insert into a pivot table. Now, I've done this already, so I'm going to go across and show you in another tab. So when you insert that data into a pivot table and a pivot chart, you can actually create a chart like this. Now, it doesn't show you much at the moment because I'm clearly the biggest player, so it has to show the lowest player and the biggest player at the same time. So it doesn't show you much at the moment. So say, for example, I took myself out of the equation by unticking here. Once you've created your pivot chart, now you can start to see which competitors are increasing their budget. So you can see week by week, oh, there's an orange line here. Who is that? That is businesscomparison.com. They have started off down here, and their impression share has been increasing and increasing and increasing, and they've been going up. So they're obviously getting a bigger injection of budget over time. And you can start to remove even more people. You might want to do it by a single line and just show one person's data. So this shows their impression share going up over time. You might be cognizant and understand another competitor. You might say, okay, let's look at this one here. Let's try this one here. They're not actually showing. So you can actually start to see who's in the market and who's actually spending a lot of money. And you can see what their impression shares are doing. So you can see here, for example, NG, another company, they had a higher impression share and it started to drop. So they're reducing their budget. And then the guys at Utility Exchange, they've stayed very low and they haven't done anything. So this is a good way of understanding what people are doing in terms of their impressions and what they're trying to target over time. So it's a really important report. And I think it's quite a useful report to create as well. So again, all you need to do is go to Google Ads, download your auction insights report data week by week by setting your calendar in the top right corner of Google Ads to your week. Download the data once, add the first day of the week in terms of the date, do it again and again. And the first time you do it will be the longest time because, of course, you've never done it before. So it might take a long time to do. But ultimately, when you've done it the first time, all you need to do is at the beginning of the week, when you're analyzing your campaigns, just make this part of your process. Download the data, add it to the report, add the week start date, and then create the report. And all you need to do then is refresh the pivot table. So you go into here, you go into Analyze, and you just click Refresh. And that will just refresh the data and update it every single time. So this is a great report to do, and it gives you a good opportunity to track your competitors over time. It gives you a good understanding of your impression share over time, because even though your competitors might move, yours will move as well, because yours will move based on your competitors' behavior too. So it's really important to stay on top of this report because it gives you a lot of insight and it provides you a lot of ideas around what competitors are doing. And imagine a brand new competitor came in. So you've got all the columns in the report, and all of a sudden, you see someone suddenly spike. They've never been there before. Then you've spotted a new competitor in the market you otherwise wouldn't have found. So it's a good thing to stay on top of. So again, you can do this at keyword, ad group, and campaign and account level. So say, for example, you have a very powerful keyword in your account that you know you want to maximize, and it's a really important keyword. You can analyze what competitors are doing around that keyword. You can analyze and see what they're doing, how they're performing, and focus on that specific keyword. You can do it at ad group level, account level, campaign level, and it's a great insight into competitor strategy, especially at keyword level. It might give you an insight into what competitors are doing. So you might think these keywords are important. So at an ad group level or a campaign level, you might see this person's my greatest competitor. They're spending a lot of money. Then you look at keyword level for a particular keyword, and then you think, hold on a moment, this competitor isn't showing as prominently. So there's a reason they're not bidding on this keyword. So what's their weakness? Why are they not bidding on it? Then you check their website. They might have less focus on that service. Then you can start to understand their business model and start to think, okay, what can I do to capitalize on this? Do I need to maximize what they're not able to do? And you can kind of start to build a picture. So it comes, outside of PPC. PPC is one element, and the technical kind of ideas and implementation of campaigns is one part, but using the data for real world insight is what people want in business. If you're a marketer in a business, the business leaders will want you to do this. If you've got your own business, then it's going to really give you a good insight into your competitors as well. So another type of competitor analysis you can do is use SpyFu. Now, SpyFu is a tool that allows you to see what ads competitors are running. So it depends on the volumes, of course, and it will show you a sample of keywords competitors are showing for. And it gives you a small sample with a free account, but it gives you a good understanding of ideas of keywords competitors could be potentially targeting, maybe ideas you hadn't even thought of. And you can also use it to get the ideas on how to, I guess, outperform your competitors and get ideas on particular keywords. So again, it's something that's, you know, I'd say it's got a rival of SEMrush. I'm sure you guys have probably heard of SEMrush as well. SpyFu does a very similar thing in terms of tracking competitor advertising. So it's a good opportunity to see what kind of ads over time competitors are running. And it's one of those things, again, you could save for later. You can go onto SpyFu, type in your competitor's URL and their domain, and get a good understanding of what kind of ads they're currently running. So I'm going to go over to SpyFu. Bear with me. So this is their free account. So you can actually go ahead and in here and get some free data. Now, a lot of the time people don't want to pay for tools when it comes to PPC or whatever it might be, because they feel like, you know, budget's an issue or whatever it might be. So use free tools where you can, but then ultimately there will become a point where you want to get the real competitive edge. You need to purchase tools in order to do that, whether it's for paid search, whether it's for organic search, marketing automation, it doesn't matter. They can only go for free for so long, but this will give you a good understanding for free what you could potentially do and potentially find competitor-wise on the search results page. So if I were to type in an accounting software company that I know, if I typed in Xero.com, let's see what comes up. Here we go. So it'll pull up a load of data from Xero.com, who are an accounting software company I've worked with. And it will show you their paid keywords and their estimated budget. And if I click on their paid keywords link here, it will fetch me some keyword data. So accountant software, online accounting software, software for accounting, small business accounting. It will give me averages based on their historical data as to what they're potentially spending on those keywords. Now, again, as I said, it's a free tool, so you only get 5 segments of data and the rest is all log in to see the results. So it gives you a little bit of an understanding as to what specifically you want to kind of achieve keyword wise. And then you can look at ad history as well. So as you'll see here, you can start to see what kind of ads they're running. And it's got a history of all their different types of ad in terms of their headlines and their indexing. So it shows you a good understanding of what kind of ads the competitors are running. So again, with this, it shows you the headlines and it doesn't necessarily pick up all the data because it says to log in to see all the results. So again, you can actually see more if you've created a free account. But then again, if you created a paid account, you'd be able to get all this data and understand how to use ad history. So what can this give you? This can give you a good understanding of the direction of travel competitors are moving with their performance of their ads. So one week you might check and see competitors are promoting a particular service. Maybe they've got a potential special offer. Maybe they've got a more competitive, a more compelling offer because of market conditions. So use this report to really understand specifically how you can target competitors and understand what adverts they're coming out with. Because what might happen is you could look at this report and then you could say, this competitor's got this special offer. Do I need to match it? Do I need to come up with a better offer? Do I need to detract from their offer on the search results page? Think what you can do on the search results page when looking at this report and see what you can do to move clicks from the clicks they're receiving over to your website. So think specifically how you can use this and maximize on those kinds of offers. So this is a really good tool and it shows you over time the history as well. So it basically indexes every single ad that a competitor will have. And again, what I will say is if your competitors or you are spending a very small budget and you don't show consistently on the paid search pages, then this report will be very difficult to generate. So if you're spending inconsistently, maybe you run PPC for 2 weeks, then you turn it off, and then maybe because of budget restrictions, you turn it back on, and then you're not spending very much money, then this report won't generate that accurately. But for this example, this company I've worked with, They are consistent, so you get a lot of good data, and it's very handy as well. So it's a good tool to use. I think if you can get a paid version of the tool, it's very useful. But I think over time, it really helps understand how aggressive people are becoming. So before I showed you how competitive people can be against the keywords you're bidding on, if you're looking at a competitor and want to see just what they're doing in general in terms of their estimated costs and the clicks they're getting, you can see how it increases and decreases over time. Then this is a good insight as well. So it shows you what competitors are doing independent of Google Ads, and it gives you a great insight there as well. So I want to do a summary, and I want to break down what we've learned, but I also want to kind of backtrack and go back through the presentation just to make sure all of this sinks in, because I'm very well aware that a lot of the things I've shown you are very technical, very high level, and I want to make sure that you can really understand all of what I'm showing you. So let me summarize first. So search engine marketing is a powerful tool at driving conversions, but not for branding and discovery. So you want to make sure that this is a channel purely based on conversion. You can use ad customizers to improve your click-through rate. So I'll go back and show you guys again, just to remind you how to do that. Your audiences, use audiences in your search campaigns to improve your conversion rates. And I can see there's some people coming in and out of this presentation. So I think it makes sense to have a review just so everyone gets full value out of this. So what you need to do is also keep an eye on the competition. So by keeping an eye on the competition, it allows you to stay ahead, keep an eye on what they're bidding on, keep an eye on what kind of levels of budget they've got by estimation. So one of the things in that report I showed you, you can actually estimate how much your competitors are spending as well. And you can spot and track competitor ad copies to find weaknesses and to get ideas and to negate any potential issues that arrive. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go back. I'm going to do a review of my advanced techniques just to make sure you guys really understand this. So business data. When you create this business data spreadsheet, when you download the template from Google, from the URL I shared with you, then this will be something that you need to populate. Now, to go back to the data I showed you, bear with me. I want to kind of explain to you how I populated this. So first of all, with business data, these are defined as official locations Google targets. Now, Google have a website with the API, which essentially gives you a list of all official locations recognized by Google. Now, when you download that list, it's quite a big file because it has every recognized location in the world. You can filter it and find the locations you want to target and import that into this campaign. Then all you need to do from there is when you create your product is pull in the first part and create a new column and cross-reference it. So for the United Kingdom, it doesn't recognize every single postcode in the entire United Kingdom, but the ones it doesn't recognize are too small anyway. You wouldn't necessarily be able to target them on Google Ads specifically because they're so small, they're such small geographies. So when you do this yourself, no matter what location you're in, you might want to do it by the equivalent of a postcode. You might want to do it by town and city name, which is also a very good way of doing it. So this is something for a national campaign. If you're targeting nationally and you want to bring more emphasis to the location somebody's in, this is the way to do it. So download the data from Google and be sure that you actually copy it from Google as specified. So if you go to Google and you go to their locations, and you can actually see, you can actually download a list of all official locations. Make sure you use that list and extract what you need in order to put into this spreadsheet. And then when you create your model, it's essentially all I did was add in whatever I'm promoting and then the postcode. So for your example, it might be something along the lines of accounting software in, or it might be along the lines of plumbing or plumber in, and then the location. So all you're literally doing is adding the name of your service in, and then the target location, and cross-referencing that with the actual location. And that's all it is. So I really want to make sure you understand that part of it, and that you can actually go ahead and start building this. And now what I will say as well with this data, you won't get it right first time. There will be issues on upload. So what can happen is when you pull in the locations and you add your models in, and then you upload it to Google, Google might say, even though it's their own data, we don't like this postcode, we don't like this one, for whatever reason it might be. Maybe it's an issue within Google Ads, it might be bugs, and there sometimes are issues on uploading the data. What you would need to do is see the error report when you upload it. It tells you specifically what's gone wrong. And then when you see what's gone wrong, then you just need to make sure you remove that row. And even if you remove a row or two, it doesn't matter, because ultimately this strategy, it will show for the majority of users. So as long as most people get to see the location in the advert, then it will increase the click-through rate, even if you miss some of them out, because it just essentially makes it more accurate for the user when they're searching. So let's go back to the presentation. And then we're going to go and look at the next part, which I touched on, which is the in-market audiences for search. So again, in-market audiences, they are audiences Google creates, and they're audiences that they hold data on a consistent basis, and they are something that you just need to automate in your campaign setup. You don't miss this out. It's something, you know, when you're adding keywords, when you're adding ad groups, add audiences as well. It's really important because it gives you an easy way to optimize your campaigns without even realizing. It's something I had a meeting with Google around. When I had a meeting with Google about a month and a half ago, they actually said they've improved their in-market audience product. So when it first came out a few years back, it was okay. The accuracy was okay, but now I've had actual official word from Google. They've really improved the quality of their in-market audiences. So it's something that should be utilized in search campaigns, not just for display as well. So again, these are the kind of categories, and to highlight them again, there are subcategories within all of these. So you might look at something along the lines of autos and vehicles. Now that could be repair, it could be new vehicle sales. You might look at business services. That might include software. It might include things like premises and rental of offices, serviced offices, virtual offices. So, you know, when you go into Google Ads, you can actually break this down and, you know, maximize and minimize each of these sections and see more audiences within that. So you can add all of the subcategories as well. But what I normally do is I start off with the top level. So if I go into a top level audience and I add all of them, which I normally do, to a campaign, and I see one audience is performing well, one audience isn't performing that well, what I'll go ahead and do is once I find the one that's performing well, I'd want to know what is specifically performing well within that audience. So again, if I went back and I saw business services was performing well, and I've got my 2 weeks of data, I could say, okay, now I can add the subcategories of business services to my audiences. So when I start breaking down those subcategories, then I can start to see specifically what's working within those categories and then add those or remove those. So I'm getting more focused, but at the very first level, you should start off with the top level audience because it's going to give you the quickest, easiest wins over time of saving budget. So that's one of the most important parts, is that using this allows you to maximize your budget, but it also allows you to save budget as well. So if there's an audience not performing, you can remove it or negatively bid on it, and that's going to really help. And again, what I want to say is you don't need to add audiences just for your industry. Add as many as you like to your campaigns. It doesn't matter if it's not your industry, it still makes a difference to your campaigns because ultimately it's just data. Even if someone's interested in flying and travel, it doesn't necessarily mean you're targeting them. All it means is you're seeing if someone's interested in travel and flying, how do they perform in my campaigns? How do they perform? So by doing that, you can really start to see what's working, what's not working. It's a good way to do that. So again, observation, not targeting. So don't make the mistake of adding an audience of targeting as opposed to observation. So if you add an audience as targeting, what will happen is Google Ads will actively start pushing your ads to that audience, which is not what you want. You want observation only. You don't want to target people on the display network. You want to make sure you keep it on the search network. So you don't want to move over and waste your budget by doing that. It's literally just a radio button. If I go back to this, you'll see here. No, bear with me. I think it was here. So there it is at the top, observation at the top, recommended. Above there, you'll have target, and observations always says recommended. And the reason for that is because Google knows themselves that they don't want you to target this audience with your search campaigns because it could cause disaster. So it's really important that you do target this way as well. So again, increase or decrease bids. Make sure that you're looking at what's actually happening within those audiences. And if you need more time, give it more time. I know I said 2 weeks is enough time. Usually it is. But if you need more time to increase or decrease bids or see what audiences are doing, give it more time and then make your adjustments as necessary. And even if an audience is performing in line with your normal campaign performance as an average, then overall it's fine. You can continue to keep that audience, because what might happen is market conditions might change, because these audiences are dynamic. They're audiences that are created specifically to, I guess, a specific type of interest in the market. So if, for example, the air travel segment of my audience targeting changes, maybe there's a change in air travel, maybe prices have gone up and the audience gets smaller, maybe it won't perform as much, or maybe it does perform better. So again, because they're dynamic, it's always good to keep them in the campaign. It's not like the static audiences in Google Ads based on purely interest targeting. This is based on people's historical behavior online within the last 30 days only. So it's a fast moving audience. So therefore the data you have on this is really good. So it does help with your conversion rate. So we've looked at, of course, the improvement of the click-through rate by inserting data into ads. Now, looking at the performance of increasing conversion rate is great as well. It's really important to look at both sides of it. So you can increase the click-through rate, which is great. You're getting a bigger share of the clicks, you're getting more traffic to your audience, you're getting more from your campaigns. But overall, you don't want to just focus on that, because if you're not converting all of that additional traffic, then there's no point. There's no point in advertising if you're getting more clicks, you're getting a bigger share of the clicks, you're spending more budget, but you're not converting at a higher rate. So it's really important that you increase that conversion rate as well. Again, I'm going to touch on this again. This report is really important. It's really important. And you can actually reverse engineer what your competitors are spending based on impression share. Now, if you have an impression share, for example, for this particular keyword, I had a 77.18% impression share. Now, my next nearest competitor had a 54.77% impression share. Now, this tells me that I know how much I'm spending. I can say I'm spending, £100,000. So if I at 77.18% are spending £100,000 on this particular term, then my next nearest competitor is spending 54% of my impression share. I can reverse engineer and work out what my competitor budgets actually are for particular keywords based on the auction. It won't be an exact science, because of course position comes into it, average cost per click comes into it. I'm showing higher up the page in position 2. My next nearest competitor averages position 4.1. So that comes into it. So, but the main thing is you can at least get a range, like an expected range of what your competitors will be performing at. So it gives you a good understanding as to what you can do in terms of what your competitors are doing on the search results page as well. And again, Excel is the best friend of a PPC practitioner. If you haven't got good skills with Excel, then it will make sense to increase and understand your skills in Excel, because ultimately what you're doing in PPC is you're using data. And by using data, you need to interpret it and tell stories with it, which is exactly what I did with this Auction Insight report. So this is the kind of reporting in a business that gives you great insight using Excel and pivot tables. So as you can imagine, this is only one way of using a pivot table in Google Ads. What you can do is you can download data over longer periods of time of different data types. So for example, you wanted to track how often you're performing top of the page in position 1, or track your average position over time, then you can use pivot tables to do this as well. You could download a report, do it by day, and then put that into a pivot table and then track your position over time. You could track your spend over time for a particular keyword. And these are the kind of insights where you can produce visuals and graphics like this. These are the kind of graphics that get shared in organizations. So if I add in a lot more of these kind of competitors into the mix, this is the kind of thing where you speak to a director, a CMO in a business, or maybe you own your own business and you're trying to get more investment, and they ask you, what's the competitor landscape like on PPC? You're relying on PPC a lot. This is one of your main channels. How much risk is there involved? How are we performing? How much budget are we spending? How are we actually performing against competitors? This is the kind of reporting that will give you a snapshot of this. So you can start to see what people are actually doing and what, I guess, budgets people have, how they're improving, how they're decreasing, what you're doing. So think of all the applications and improvements you can make to PPC in order to improve your campaigns, and put that data into visuals as well with pivot tables. So raw data, create a pivot table, and it really helps you visualize your data. So let's jump back to the presentation. And then finally, as I said just at the end, SpyFu, good tool for looking at ads. It gives you good insight into what competitors are doing on the search results page, and it gives you a good way of tracking your adverts as well. And I think overall, this tool is something that you can use to get inspiration from as well. So sometimes what happens on PPC, for me at least anyway, is you can write an ad, you can create a campaign, it's performing, but then you see a competitor advert with a really compelling offer. It might be something that you also do, but might not have thought of. Or maybe they've written the ad in such a way that it sounds better to the user, and you haven't thought of that either. So in either case, you can start to think how you can apply and essentially steal competitor ideas, because that's the idea. Competitors will be looking at you, you'll be looking at competitors, and of course you don't want to copy their advert word for word, but if they've mentioned something in their advert that's compelling, and you can see based on your data that the click-through rate and impression share that you're getting compared to your competitors is lower, then you can start to think, hold on, I think it's because of this advert. What can I do to make my advert as compelling or more compelling? Or in the other side of things, you can actually see if your competitors have copied you. So if you track your competitors over time and you're running adverts and you notice your click-through rate is amazing, and you've got a really good click-through rate, and then you can see your competitors' ads over time, and all of a sudden your competitors start to increase their click-through rate, you can look at their adverts and see if they've stolen content from you as well, which sometimes happens. Competitors can look at your advert and see, okay, you've got a great offer or great positioning in the market. I'm going to take that from you. So it's a good tool to do that. So that kind of summarizes everything I wanted to go through. I think overall, just to reiterate this, I think PPC and search engine marketing is a product that's been around for a very long time, but ultimately it's something that is still going to be here in the future. I know Google are doing a lot of things to try and increase automation and increase, I guess, the volume of clicks that come from PPC. So a lot of their changes aren't necessarily good, but PPC is going to be around for a very long time. It's going to be one of those marketing methods that will always be in the mix in any organization, simply because it's one of the few where you can turn it on like a tap. You can literally just start a campaign, start spending money, and start showing for particular searches and grow from there. But ultimately, I think overall, as a channel, it's been around for a long time. And I think because of that, a lot of people are scared of approaching it, and they're worried about data, compared to Facebook ads, for example, which is a lot easier to get into than Google ads in terms of the interface and the things you can do. I think overall, it's really important that you stay on top of your skills in Google ads, because it's one of those areas a lot of your competitors might be worried about approaching. And I think if you can approach it with confidence and you can go into it and know you can make a huge difference to your campaigns and grow, then I think overall you're going to make a big difference to the organizations you're in. So I think at this point, what I will do is I will start to take questions. So if anybody has any questions, I've given 20 minutes for Q&A. So if anyone has any questions in the chat, or they want to ask me a question directly, then please feel free. Is anybody feeling they need to ask anything? I think if there's anything you want me to reiterate as well, and I've gone back over some of the notes here, but if there's anything you want to kind of reiterate or any kind of questions you want to ask, then feel free. I think we've got a very, very confident audience. It's good. It means that I think things have sunk in. I think you're happy to go ahead and try some of these techniques. But I think generally speaking, I still want to leave some time in case anyone thinks of anything. So I'll give it another minute or two, just so anyone might want to voice a question or type a question into the group chat. So I'll give another minute. Hello. Hello, sorry, I can't hear you properly. Could you speak up into the microphone?
Hello.
Hello.
Yes, actually, I would like to know if there are any other tool other than SpyFu for keyword analysis on any competitor's website.
Sure, yeah. So SpyFu have a competitor who's bigger than them. That's SEM Rush. Um, that is a good tool as well. I think I use SpyFu in the example because I think their ad data is better than SEM Rush's ad data. But overall, SEM Rush is a tool that does more than SpyFu overall in terms of SEO as well as paid search. But I think SEM Rush is a good competitor of SpyFu, and actually if you go to Google and type in SpyFu or SEM Rush, they have quite funny adverts on competitor bidding on each other because they essentially do the same things. So I think the tool I'd recommend for that is
Okay,
SEM Rush as a good alternative that you should check out. And again, that's for free as well. There's a free option there, and there's also paid options with SEM Rush as well.
okay, okay. Thanks.
You're welcome. Any other questions? Oh, I see. There's a question from. Let's have a look. Will you be sharing the slides? Yes, I believe the slides will be shared. I think they'll be made available. I believe, or the presentation. I think will be made available. Any other questions? Again, I'll give it another moment just in case anyone has any further questions, just to make sure everyone's comfortable. Okay, I think everybody's asked the questions they wanted to ask. I think everyone's quite happy with everything discussed, and I'm sure there's a lot of things you can implement today. And that brings me on to the digital marketing training. So today you've got a lot of value out of kind of understanding what, I guess, what you can do with PPC and understand how you can improve your campaigns. And I'm guessing you want to build on that knowledge and actually increase your knowledge in these areas and actually grow as a marketer as well, which is why the digital marketing training becomes quite important. So for a start, job satisfaction and career growth is important. I think those two factors will really highlight why it's important to continue your knowledge and continue your marketing career and your marketing journey. So there's a wide range of career options available as a marketer. If you get into digital marketing, it's one of the few areas globally that's growing as an industry. There's new tools, new processes, new marketing methods, new businesses opening constantly. So if you jump on now and become a digital marketer, then you can future-proof your career essentially, because it's a very in-demand skill across the entire globe. It's something that's needed in every single continent and something that can help really grow your career. So it's flexible, so you can learn in your own time. It's something you can carry on working on in the day, and then later on you can go ahead in the weekends and actually start to grow your career as well and continue working on and growing yourself as a marketer. And it means that, again, you can future-proof your skills from one company to another. If I become a marketer in one business and I grow my knowledge, I can move into another business and apply that same knowledge again and again and again. So you're future-proofing your career, you're growing, and you're exhibiting your creativity as well. So one part of being a marketer, and especially in digital, is it's going to really help you grow your career and make sure that you stay on top of things as well. And I mean, when you look at all the other industries out there, there's a lot of industries that are going down. Digital marketing is one of the few that's actually increasing and improving. So if we look at the benefits of actual live online training, I think this is where it becomes really important. And in fact, what I will do is I'm going to go across to the website here, just so you guys can get a proper understanding and a breakdown as to what specifically should be done. So again, there's point number 3 is one that wasn't in the presentation itself, but I think overall a better salary is a huge part of digital marketing, because people understand, the businesses understand the value of marketing, and if you can prove yourself as a marketer, then the value to a business becomes endless. I think one of the few things I've seen business wise in digital marketing is you can go into a business And if you can improve that business and prove to be the linchpin, the person that sets yourself apart and grow, and you can develop the revenue of that business, then you become incredibly valuable. And it's very, as a business owner and as someone who runs a business, when you start looking at people in your organization who are adding value, if you decide to potentially move to a different business or a different company, then that could be, something that's transferable. And that person who runs the business that you're in would do everything they can to keep you, because your skills and your opportunities are within this organization. So it's something that's really going to help you grow over time. So again, I think overall, this is something that I would say from a flexibility point of view, you can learn digital marketing absolutely everywhere. It's like one of those things where you can be on the train, you could be looking at a course with PreparationInfo, you could be on the bus, you could be traveling, you could be at home, you could be working on things, and you can see and take this training and understand specifically, grow your knowledge on digital marketing. And I think overall, it's something that's really going to help you grow in your careers long term. Let's jump back to the presentation. So what are the benefits of attending the live digital marketing training? So it's a 12-week live online instructor-led program. So you've had a bit of a sample today of what kind of instructor programs online can be really helpful. And hopefully, today's been valuable to you guys, and you've got some skills you can implement today if you wanted to. And I'm sure that, you will go ahead into your businesses and go ahead and start implementing a lot of these skills. Now, this was only, an 80, 70-minute presentation of digital marketing. Now, a 12-week live online instructor-led training for 12 weeks, 4 hours a day on a Saturday with 48 hours of instructor-led training, that is going to make a huge difference. That's going to transform your knowledge of marketing. It's going to make a massive difference. So if you're a working professional and you're in the marketing industry and you want to grow your knowledge and you want skills, you can turn around to your marketing officers or your directors and say, we should be doing this, we should be doing this, and you want actionable insights and you want to provide more value to the organizations you're in, then this is going to help. It's going to be one of those things where you can not just look at theory, but then apply it practically in your day-to-day as well and see the actual results, real case studies, real examples, and actually see how you can apply that knowledge within your businesses as well. So another thing as well with learning is that's quite important is when you actually start taking courses, it's easy enough to, register on a course and start taking training and instructor-led training. But then you might think later on after the session has ended, oh, I've got a question. I've got something to think about. I've got a question about this. If I was going to apply this in my business, I forgot to ask the instructor. So 24/7 doubt clearing via email from subject matter experts is going to help with that. So if you have a question about anything you've learned in the training, further to the training, you can ask at any time. You can actually ask and say, I want to learn more about this, or what do you think about this option, or should I implement this in the business this way? What about my SEO strategy? What about my PPC, my growth hacking strategy? What should I do in this particular instance? And that kind of help is going to be really important when you're implementing these strategies in your businesses as well. And of course, at the end of a course, you want to actually get acknowledgement that you've completed some training. So a certificate of participation and excellence from PreparationInfo is going to really be valuable as well. It will show you that you've completed the training. It will show employers that you've completed specific digital marketing training as well. And it will give you confidence and happiness that you've actually gone ahead and, committed to a training course to increase your knowledge, and that you've come out the other side of it a better marketer as well. So again, I think marketing-wise, training is an ongoing thing. It's something that you don't stop doing. As a marketer, I've been in the business myself for nearly 9 years now. And for me, I continue to learn and I continue to grow. And the refreshment training and attending future batches of training is going to be important as well. So it's always important to stay on top of your training, to not stop learning. The old saying of never stop learning definitely applies, because it's really, really important to continue your knowledge. Because what you don't want to happen is you go to this webinar, you increase your knowledge, and then in the next year, people in your position have learned more and you've not learned more, and you've stayed in the same place. And you want to kind of make sure you grow your knowledge, because the digital marketing world moves so quickly it's important to grow your knowledge and make sure you're staying on top of things. And if the landscape were to shift and you stayed where you were, then there's going to be problems. You're going to be stuck in old techniques. You're going to be stuck in old methodologies. Maybe you missed an algorithm update. Maybe you missed new features and functionality in Google Ads. Maybe you've missed out the latest growth hacking techniques that have been working. You know, there's so many different types of things that you need to stay on top of. Maybe you've missed new functionality in a social media network or how to apply it, or new tracking and analytics techniques. So I think because it changes so quickly and so often, training becomes really important. And to make sure you're valued in your organization, staying on top of training is where you really need to focus, because it really makes sure that you are ahead of the game when it comes to your marketing. So when you take training, of course, you want to make sure you hit learning outcomes and actually understand what you're going to get as a result of training. So the course will prepare you for the most sought after certification exams, such as the OMCA, OMCP, Facebook marketing, YouTube marketing, Google Ads, Google Analytics, and Twitter marketing. So all of these certifications are important, and they're for platforms that people use on a day-to-day basis in digital marketing. And taking a course like this will put you in a position where you're ready to go. You're ready to take these exams. You're ready to go ahead and get those qualifications. You understand the landscape, and you're confident and comfortable as a marketer that you can grow and develop your skills. And you know, you can go out there into the marketing world with all of these tools, and you can hit the ground running. You can essentially hit the ground running and start marketing. It's good to connect customers online as well. So, you know, use the content to connect with customers. You can actually start to, you know, create campaigns and build on things and make sure that you're reaching the right people and using the right strategies to do so. And it's really important, again, as I said at the beginning of this presentation, is to track customers from the very first interaction all the way through the buyer journey with measurable results. So you saw that slide with all the touch points that the users have taken. So, you know, from the very beginning, from brand marketing, social media, organic search, email, referral, finalizing and, you know, finishing their journey in PPC, that made a huge difference. And I think understanding and measuring that's going to be another thing in an organization that's really going to help you too, because if you go to your director or your CEO in your company and you can demonstrate the value of specific channels and say, this channel's working well, this channel isn't working well, this channel looks like it's not working well, but even though there's no direct revenue tied to it, look where it fits in the conversion journey. Everybody who reads a piece of content converts at an X higher rate than people who don't. So therefore we shouldn't discontinue content marketing, even though people aren't buying directly from reading content. So these kind of conversations in an organization, the value and insights like this are helpful. They're going to help you become a better marketer, but they're also going to help you in your careers as well and become more well-positioned in your business. Optimizing for conversion rates is important too. I think that's the main focus of marketing, is to improve efficiencies in your campaigns, and optimizing for conversion rate is going to help you do that. So anything you can do to improve those conversion rates and improve that and push forward with your conversion rate optimization on page and campaign wise, because there's obviously two types of conversion rate optimization. There's optimizing your campaigns. So if I was using Google Ads, improving my keyword bidding, my keyword strategy, negative keywords, improving your conversion rates by doing that. But then in addition to that, there's also your website. So making sure your website is conversion rate optimized as well, making sure that it's easy for users to convert on your website, and making sure the journey for users from beginning to end, from click to conversion, is as smooth as possible. And these are all things that are really going to help you as marketers. Now, we know the mobile web is the future of the internet. Google have officially said this. Google have said they are taking a mobile first approach with everything. They've already started indexing websites on a mobile first basis. So anyone who has a website on Google, the way Google sees your site and indexes your site is mobile first. So if your website looks amazing on desktop, but not so great on mobile, then there's an issue. Google will see your site as mobile first. So your mobile performance will negatively impact your desktop performance because of that. So connecting with mobile customers is really, really important. You've got to be flexible with personalization and make sure you target them effectively. And you've got to have a website that works across all devices. Or your web journey, from content to conversion to products, has to be accessible on all devices. So when you realize higher ROI and revenue and reach larger audiences, this is another thing. Again, from a marketing point of view, return on investment as a model itself is really important. And I think growing the revenue in an organization, if you can demonstrate you've done that and you can continue to do that, then again, career-wise, you are in an amazing position where you can continue to grow as a marketer. And organizations will really feel that you're part of their long-term plans, their long-term journey. And in addition to that, forget even who you're working with now as a business. Your future, you might not be with the company that you're with now in 5 years from now, but if you continue to learn your digital marketing and continue to grow, then opportunities come your way. You might be a junior marketer now, you might be mid-level. Then when you want to make the transition to a senior marketer, this is the kind of training and development that will lead you down that path towards being a senior marketer by growing this specific knowledge, and not just the certificates at the end. It's all about the actionable knowledge and insight you can actually use to grow. So again, this is something that the training and the outcomes of the training is going to really help you with. So you can analyze and adapt easily. There's a low barrier to entry, so you can jump onto this training and start developing your skills quickly. So as a marketing professional, one of the things you might be a bit worried about with training is it going to be too advanced for me? Is it going to move too fast a pace for me? Am I going to get from middleweight to heavyweight too quickly? Well, with this training, it's adaptable. It's a low barrier to entry. So you can come in as a junior, mid-level, or even an adept marketer, and there'll be something for everybody across the whole journey of the training. Everybody will learn something new, whether you're a senior marketer, whether you're a junior marketer, whether you're just trying to get into marketing. It doesn't matter what level you're at, you will develop your skills in one way or another and learn something new in every area of the training. So it's designed specifically for you as a user to kind of go through the program, increase your skills, increase your knowledge, and make sure that you are up to date with what's going on in the marketing world. And you become more competitive and it becomes easy to optimize as well. So you as a business will be able to compete more effectively. So you might be a smaller business, you might be competing against some bigger businesses. And I've seen this work previously as well. I've seen businesses where this has happened, where smaller businesses can take on a bigger business because of the nature of their marketing. I've seen it before in businesses I've worked in, where our biggest competitors would be spending 5, 10, 15 million pounds on marketing, and then the business I was working in had a yearly marketing budget of 150,000 pounds. So, and there were scenarios where on the Google search results page, we outranked them because of our focus on SEO. There were areas where we converted at a higher rate than them because of our marketing automation campaigns. So it shows you that with the right training and execution, you can actually take on bigger customers and bigger clients bigger competitors as well. And the main thing is get better job opportunities, and you can also become an entrepreneur. So when you learn all this training, you're not just valued to an organization you might be working in now. You're going to be valued to anyone who wants to grow, anyone who wants to develop their skills as a marketer. You're valuable to them. So you could, for people who need a marketer in their organization, you can go out there as an entrepreneur and develop a product. You can go out there and develop your training. You can go out there and take a product to market. You might have a concept in your mind right now, and you might think, I want to launch this product or launch this idea or start this business. And with this training, you could actually turn around and actually start to develop these ideas into pure marketing concepts. You can start to take the product to market. You can actually market the product effectively. And overall, it's really going to help you long term. So it will give you all of these opportunities and more as well. So it's the training itself is really going to help you move in all areas, from knowledge through to career, through to entrepreneurship. No matter what area of digital marketing you're looking at, it's going to help you do that. And that completes the presentation. I hope everybody got a lot of value out of this, and I'm sure that you guys did. And if you have any questions, again, Preparation.info are available to talk. And again, with the online training, I really hope that you guys, go ahead and jump on this training, because I think it's going to be very valuable. I think you would grow as marketers off the back of this. And I think the insights on this webinar have shown you the kind of instant actionable things you can learn quite quickly and implement today if you wanted to. And I think overall, it's been a good presentation. I think I'm happy to have you guys on, in this talk, and I'm glad you guys enjoyed it. And apart from that, if there's any other questions, I'm happy to take a couple now if there's any last minute questions. But apart from that, I think that completes the presentation. Okay, no questions. Well, thank you guys for joining the presentation. I'm glad you enjoyed it, and I look forward to seeing you guys on the training. And if you have any questions, please get in touch with Preparation Info. They'll be more than happy to field your questions after the presentation. Thank you, guys.